Good evening. Welcome to Talking Equity Atlanta. We're going to get started this evening by doing a quick shout out to your school or organization in the chat feature. So, could you please just let us know what schools our APS students attend? Who are you representing this evening? Usher Collier Elementary School, Harper Archer Elementary, Douglas, JLIA, another Douglas, Frederick Douglass, Douglas is Thick Douglas, Usher Collier. All right. Very excited to be here in the Douglas cluster this evening. So, as we get started, I just want to go over a couple of quick meeting norms. So first, you will remain muted until the breakout groups begin. The breakouts will last about 25 minutes, and the APS staff is really just here to listen this evening. And lastly, just please be courteous and respectful of everyone's opinions. And as we begin, we'll have a brief introduction by board member Aretta Baldwin.
Good evening, Douglas Cluster parents and community. Thank you for joining us tonight for Tea Talking Equity Atlanta. I am board member Aretta Baldwin, one of your APS board members, and I'm honored to be a part of this relevant and timely conversation. I am also joined by at least one of my board members. I believe Cynthia Briscoe Brown is on the call, and I believe that board member Erica Mitchell will be joining us shortly. We've all heard the word equity, but tonight our district leaders will share what that word means for APS and why we believe it should be at the forefront of our work. We want to hear from you about how we can work together to create a culture that encourages excellence for every student, regardless of whether they are affluent or marginalized, Black, brown, or white, identifying as he, she, or they, are diverse in their ability status. Every student deserves an equitable chance at success. With more, I'd like to introduce Dr. Tawita Baker Jones, our Chief Equity and Social Justice Officer.
Thank you, Board Member Baldwin, for that introduction. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I bring greetings on behalf of our superintendent as well, Dr. Lisa Herring, who could not join us this evening. And this meeting in this session is just to echo many of the points that she has shared with us in past sessions. I'm sorry, hold on one second. Just trying to get my tech right. We know that the past school year hasn't been easy for many of us. Some families were managing online learning while working full-time jobs, while other parents struggled to put food on the table as businesses closed and jobs were lost due to the pandemic. Despite this, each of you still work hand in hand with Atlanta Public Schools to make sure that the success of our students remained a top priority. And for that, I and the APS senior leadership team thanks you. With your engagement and your support, we have navigated through uncharted territory successfully, and we are excited about the year ahead. During Dr. Herring's recent Reimagine cluster meetings, as board member Baldwin mentioned, we briefly touched on equity, but tonight we will continue that conversation to ensure that every child is ready for post-secondary success, whether that's a four-year college, junior college, trade school, or the workplace. We must prepare each one of them based on their unique skills and needs. And our center, the Center for Equity and Social Justice, will be a key part of this courageous work. And so I would like to share with you all a warm welcome and introduction from a few of our Center for Equity and Social Justice team members who are dedicated to partnering with you to advance educational equity in APS.
Meow and greetings.
Hola y bienvenidos.
Bonjour.
Aloha.
Namaste.
Sawabona.
Guten Tag.
Marhaban. Ciao. Hujambo.
Hello.
My name is Quentin Stroud, the Equity Policy Analyst working at the Center for Equity and Social Justice.
Mi nombre es Joana García y soy la especialista en la comunidad Latinx en el Centro de Equidad y Justicia Social.
My name is Quentin O'Neill, the Coordinator for Supply Diversity with the Center of Equity and Social Justice.
My name is Ashley Reese, and I am the Administrative Manager in the Center for Equity and Social Justice at Atlanta Public Schools.
My name is Larry Wallace. I am the Executive Director of Federal Programs in the Center for Equity and Social Justice here in Atlanta Public Schools.
My name is Deirdre Smith, Organizational Ombuds with the Center for Equity and Social Justice.
I'm Rhonda Hudson, the Coordinator of Equitable Student Support Services in the Center for Equity and Social Justice.
I am Gina DeVoe. I am the Coordinator of Equitable Schools and Academics in the Center for Equity and Social Justice.
My name is Natasha Steed, Executive Director for Equitable Resource Strategy in the Center for Equity and Social Justice.
My name is Keisha Copeland, and I am the Director of Family Engagement in the Center for Equity and Social Justice.
My name is Katisha Kennebrew, and I'm the Program Director for Equity Strategy in the Center for Equity and Social Justice at Atlanta Public Schools.
I'm looking forward to joining you at T.
Bienvenidos al TE.
Welcome to T.
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 Hello, my name is Dr. Tauhida Baker-Jones, and I'm the Chief Equity and Social Justice Officer for the Center for Equity and Social Justice at Atlanta Public Schools. Welcome to T.
We do have one team member who was not featured in the video, and I'm going to ask her to come off mute and also introduce herself. So Miss Emily Ward, if you could join us.
Hi everyone, I am Emily Ward, and I'm the new Coordinator for Equity Focused Professional Learning in the Center for Equity and Social Justice, and I'm so happy to be here tonight.
Thank you, Emily. So as Dr. Herring has shared previously, at APS, our mission is through a caring culture of equity, trust, and collaboration, every student will graduate ready for college, career, and life. Along with Superintendent Herring and APS leaders, we are working closely together to plan and strategize what the work of equity and social justice means for every child. And to do this well, we need your help. So I would like to take us through a quick journey and look at what we've already committed to doing as an APS family and what our vision is for this work. So just to revisit, our vision is a high-performing school district where students love to learn, educators inspire, families engage, and the community trusts the system. To bring these words to life, equity must be the through line. And to reach the mission and vision, we must aim to grow each subgroup, not continuously compare one subgroup against another. So when you look at our milestones data from 2017 to 2019, you can see, if you transition to the next slide, that at APS, we do have, and we do acknowledge that we have the largest achievement gaps between race and class of students. But as you can see from this slide, we are growing students. Achievement for all students grew in ELA and math milestone performance by 5% between 2017 and 2019. Black student growth grew 6% in math and 5% in ELA during that same time period. The reverse trend was true for our Latinx students, and our white students grew roughly 4% in the same subject areas during the same period. And their growth was slightly lower than other groups because their achievement was higher. But the table also shows that there was growth in other subgroups as well. In our Asian student population, ELL student, and our students with disability all showed growth during the same time period. With regard to our graduation rates, overall throughout the city, the graduation rate from 2019 to 2020 also grew, as you can see from this slide. Yet there's still work to do because there is variation across the board. Here in the Douglas cluster, for example, the high school graduation rate increased by 12.9% to 76.6% during the 2019 and 2020 school year. So the truth is that we are making progress, But our progress must be more than incremental. It must be aggressive if we truly want all of our students to be successful. And we can only accomplish this with equity as our lens and keeping an intentional focus on every child. And so what is equity really? At APS, we define equity as the quality of being just and fair, regardless of economic, social, cultural, and human differences among and between persons. So to put this in like simpler terms, what this means is that equity is different than equality. Equality gives every child the same support. Equity provides each child with the specific support that they need so that they can thrive and succeed. And so to foster a culture that encourages excellence for all students and staff, equity must be at the forefront. Every student must have the opportunity to come to school and have access to effective teaching. And our students also deserve to have to safely and comfortably learn and be who they are. And that's what the aim of equity really is. The aim of equity is to provide additional and differentiated supports based on students' needs. So for instance, if you have one student who enters APS reading several grade levels behind their peers, they need additional literacy resources and supports. Whereas you may have other students entering APS well beyond their fellow classmates. And for those students, we need to provide new and innovative opportunities for them to remain engaged. So equity is different because equality would say we would give all of those students the same supports without taking into account that one student is coming in at one area and what level and another student is coming in at another level, and they have differentiated supports that they need. And once we recognize this and we're able to meet those needs, that's when we get to social justice. Social justice more specifically is achieved when you cannot predict how a student will perform based on their race, based on their gender, or whether or not they live north of the I-20 or south of the I-20. A student's success shouldn't be predicated or able to be predicted based on those factors. And so in order for us to achieve social justice and equity, we must be equitable in our instruction, and we must be socially just in our instruction. So you can see the slide here and read for yourself what we mean when we say equitable instruction and socially just instruction. But to simplify it, equitable instruction is basically classroom instruction that is relevant to students' lives, it connects to their interests, and it meets their needs. When we talk about social justice in instruction, that just requires that our students see themselves reflected in the curriculum. So whether it be seeing themselves in terms of their racial identity, their ability identity, their gender identity, or any other identity marker that students may hold, they need to be able to see themselves reflected in the curriculum that we are instructing them with. And that's where our Center for Equity and Social Justice comes in. We support the district in doing this work, and we support them in many ways, but primarily in providing and supporting them in providing more equitable resources and supports for students and staff. This includes wraparound services and supports from our external partners. We also serve as a gateway for managing equity-related concerns and questions. And our ultimate goal is to support the district in increasing academic growth across all subgroups. And so now that we have a foundation of the work to be done, the vision for the work, and what our center here does, I would love to work together with the community to get it done. And so we've broken out and created breakout sessions because we really want to spend this time to hear from you about what you feel the work of equity is that needs to be done, how you feel that we can get it done together, and what's coming up top of mind and top of heart for you at this time as it relates to equity and achieving equity in the Atlanta Public Schools. And so in your breakout groups, you're going to have small group conversations, about 25 minutes to discuss. We have a series of questions we would like to ask to get your feedback on. We're going to ask that our odd number groups answer questions 1 and 3, and our even number groups answer questions 2 and 4. And then we'll have an open space question where you could just share what's top of mind and top of heart as it relates to equity and how we can best achieve equity in APS. We've assigned each group a member from our Center for Equity and Social Justice. They will be there to facilitate, to take notes. They are there to listen and to capture your voice. If you need Spanish language support, please let us know by dropping it in the chat, and we will assign you to a breakout room where you can have the support you need to participate in the discussion as well. And with that, I will say, let's talk equity, Atlanta. Openness, your honesty, and your candor. I got to pop into all of the sessions, and I can hear the passion and the honesty and the willingness to get this work done and to support getting this work done. So thank you all for that. I appreciate you. And to ensure full transparency in this work, we would like to invite a few, actually all of the small groups, to share out briefly what was discussed, just some high-level takeaways that you have, 1 or 2 takeaways that came up in your group and came up top of mind. So I'm going to invite you one by one to share. So we can start with group 1 to share 1 or 2 takeaways from your breakout session. We would appreciate that. Group 1. Quentin, who did we? Not Quentin O'Neill, I'm sorry, Quentin Stroud. Group 1, who?
I believe that was Luz.
Quentin and Natasha. Well, then it would have been Quentin and Natasha.
Okay.
Quentin and I was in group 3. I believe group 1 was Ilya and Luz.
But they don't have a share.
Oh, I see. So group 2 then.
Thank you. The dynamic group 2 of the Douglas Cluster. We're gonna have Brandon give the report out. I really want Brandon and CJ Stewart, but I'm gonna go with Brandon. All right, Brandon.
Okay, group 2.
Hey, I don't mind sharing. Good evening, everyone. My name is Brandon Graham. And so they're absolutely right. We were riled up talking about some good things as it pertains to equity for the Douglas High School cluster. So some of the things that came about, Ms. Nunnally brought up that via the virtual experience that she noticed that our APS students needed student emails to ensure that they were streamlined in communication. Also was brought up by Ms. Stewart, also ensuring that we're teaching our students basic concepts of how to utilize technology and employability skills, how to properly utilize an email, how do you email someone, to CC, to blind copy. As well, more resources have to be engaged to our students as pertains to parent engagement. Ms. Calhoun talked about this, as well as Ms. Jones, to incentivize parents to be more engaged within their children's school so that we can aid them to their success. Dr. Neely brought up more academic support for our students, whether it's academic platforms that the district is paying for, partnerships brought into the school, but we have to spend more money as pertains to academic resources. One of the elements that I brought up was we have to work toward dealing with truancy and absentees within the Douglas cluster and really the west side of Atlanta, because that speaks to the crux of our students not being active and engaged within the school building, but finding ways to re-engage with their parents through that to aid us in making our school and community more successful. Board member Olympiadis brought up, what is it that we need within the Douglas cluster to dust off our rock, to make us a rock star yet again? And so all of the elements that we talked about are basic components to getting us there, but we also talked about making sure that students were at the forefront of the focus as we engage with our community and with the students and staff, that all decisions should be student focused. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Mr. Graham. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And awesome work, Group 2. Group 3, we will tag you in now. I need to hear that same energy and spirit though, because Group 2 had a whole shout and cheer.
Well, Group 3 got it going on.
Group 3 can bring it. Come on, y'all. Woo!
Yes. We had some wonderful conversation.
Absolutely. Group 3 brought it strong and they brought it real, I must say. So we covered 2 conversations. The first was focused on the belonging of the students, creating that sense of belonging. The first area, the theme that ran throughout is it takes a village, recognizing that students and parents that educators and staff cannot do this on their own. We need to engage the parents. And in order to engage the parents, we have to make sure that the parents feel a sense of belonging. When they walk in the door, we have to create a way that they feel welcomed. Some of the ways that we talked about was maybe possibly offering this session at different times throughout the day, right? And then moving beyond that, going into the community. Like if we're gonna create a village, we have to go out into the community, meet parents where they're at, set up at a community center, things of that nature, so they can feel a way that we're engaging them. Other thing that shared was making sure that we praise students for our small accomplishments as well as our large accomplishments. Whenever we think about what we do with our students, celebrate them throughout everything that we do. Let's not focus on negativity and stop talking negative about the students and the clusters and the schools, but help them understand and hear great things about themselves, great things that they're doing. So that way they can see themselves reflected in greatness, right? And also making sure that they're reflected in curriculum. The other thing we talked about was profile of a student. What does it mean and how can we help our students aspire to that profile that we're looking for? One thing we talked about is kids need real life experience, right? So being able to know how to get a job, how to keep a job, how to pay bills, setting them up for success in real life throughout the curriculum. The AVID program was highlighted, attracting and retaining educators who have high expectations for our students. Also, enrichment activities, being able to engage students in robotics, arts, music. We talked about magnet schools. After that, we just kind of landed on some things that was on our hearts. And at the end of the day, one thing that was highlighted was that APS needs to do a better job of living up to a caring culture that's mentioned in the mission statement, specifically by being able to create that sense of belonging, not only for the students, but also for the parents. And ultimately, I think our group brought a great energy around just recognizing that they believed in us. Everyone came with a commitment, everyone came with being able to share real experiences, but ultimately everyone said they believe in us, and it's about us coming together and collaborating in order to really just get this done and make it happen. So thank you, Group 3, great feedback.
Thank you, Natasha in Group 3. In Group 4, you're gonna round us out.
So can we get a shout out for Group 4? Woo! We had amazing participation as well. We're going to recap just a few. We had questions that really centered on what resources and thinking about equitable resources, what's needed to grow academic achievement. And we heard loud and clear, we need to make sure that our technology is up to date and is substantial in all of our clusters. We need to deep dive into our curriculum, specifically our reading and our literacy, to make sure that our curriculum is culturally relevant and reflects our students. We heard that we need to attract more highly qualified educators in our cluster, specifically around some of the hard to fill positions in special education, but we need a pipeline of highly qualified educators, a more diverse curriculum and courses that allow our students in the cluster to have more advanced course options as well as more vocational course options. We also heard that we have to focus on social emotional learning. Education is a challenge and instruction is a challenge if we're not focusing on that first. So we need more trained staff and professionals in trauma, in social emotional learning, et cetera, to really support our students' needs. And we need to make sure that our students understand those skills that are really going to prepare them for the workforce. And so we need more skills-based opportunities. Our next question was really around how can we ensure that our graduates are critical thinkers, that they're globally connected, that they're problem solvers, et cetera. and what support is needed to make sure that our graduates finish APS and fit this profile. And we heard loud and clear, we need more opportunities for volunteerism and mentorship, because those relationships can connect to real life skills and work experience opportunities. We need our students to know what's beyond school. We need to have them to have broader understanding of what post-secondary options are available to them. Counselors. We had a person say that counselors are the reason she connects to not having to pay for college, and having more counselors really support our students in their journey, access to scholarships and college supports. So we definitely need to take that into consideration. We had an administrator speak about vertical communication and integration. We need to make sure that our elementary, middle, and high schools are on the same page and have a real opportunity to support students and throughout their APS career. And we also need to make sure that, specifically for Douglas as a STEM school, to ensure that our students are critical thinkers and problem solvers, we need the district to support the cluster in establishing partnerships to really inspire project-based learning. And one of the examples that was lifted up was Georgia Tech. It has a lot of opportunity to partner with the district to make sure that the students are exposed to specifically some of those STEM opportunities. And so again, I just want to thank our group number 4 for just rich conversation. And the very last thing that I'll mention is, we also, in the free expression, we heard that we'll want to make sure that we're holding ourselves accountable for considering the differences across the clusters, and also holding ourselves as a district and even as schools accountable for establishing a timeline so that we can have some meaningful conversation that also connects to the action, and when that action will take place and become realized for our cluster. So again, thank you so much. This has been an amazing conversation tonight, and I thank everyone for contributing.
Thank you for that. And thank you all of the discussion, from what I've heard, was meaningful and rich, and I appreciate that. And I know our team appreciates that as well. We also want to thank you all for your time and for respecting differing opinions. I heard very lively discussion taking place, in the healthy dialogue taking place, and a willingness to be uncomfortable for the good of healthy dialogue. So thank you all for that, and for leaning into that space, because in order to find real solutions on behalf of every student we serve, we agree it's going to take hard collaborative work and dialogue. Just so you know, next steps, the information that we've gathered from our Ts will also be used to inform our equity audit that we're conducting currently, and it will be used to guide the district's efforts to achieve equity. And so this data will be compiled and prioritized, and from that priority list, we would build out and develop what our next steps in our strategy is going to be for addressing equity in Atlanta Public Schools. And you can continue to help us in this effort by responding to the survey that you received when you registered for this T. If you haven't received that survey, I see Natasha dropped it for you in the chat. So if you could please complete that survey. It has a few more questions in there that allow us to drill down a little bit further into some of the areas of equity that our system may need to address. So if you could take the time and provide us with your insights on that as well, we would appreciate it. But again, remember, equity is at the forefront in APS. And in order for us to foster a culture that encourages excellence for all students, we need your support. And so when we reach this ideal, we will truly have equity and we'll truly have social justice for all. So thank you all for joining us this evening. We appreciate you, appreciate your time, and appreciate your thoughts and ideas, and have a great weekend ahead, everybody.